All right, thanks for joining us today. We here at Thunder are discussing Salesforce and order activation. We'll touch on both order activation as it relates within CPQ as well as within billing, so the overall revenue cloud. My name is Mike Didonna. I'm a senior revenue consultant with Thunder. Been working in the revenue cloud for around 3 years or so. And I'm also joined today by another revenue cloud consultant here at Thunder, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Josh Hess. I'm also a senior revenue cloud consultant here at Thunder. I've been doing revenue cloud implementations now pretty much my entire Salesforce career. I've been, projects of various sizes. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem now for about 4 to 5 years. So specifically focusing on revenue cloud. So I think that there's going to be a lot of good content that we can get to regarding the order activation, because it's pretty important to revenue cloud and the way that we integrate off of things and use billing and stuff like that. So let's go ahead before we get too off track here. Let's go ahead and dive in. So first thing we want to talk about is some key points for orders. The main takeaway from this slide is you should be creating orders and you should be using the order object, even if you're not using Salesforce billing. The reason this is important is if you ever plan to or want to move to Salesforce billing, it's mandatory to use the order object. The other thing that makes the order object important is the way that it's used in integrations. Typically, we see integrations with Sage Intacct or NetSuite as a billing system that integrates directly off of the orders object. Those two systems are able to both pick up order header information as well as order product information. And for those who don't know, orders in Salesforce using Revenue Cloud create basically an order header, and then it has a its related objects is the order products. And basically your order products would effectively represent what we would call different products or subscriptions or line items that are related to the overall order. So you can think about it as an order as a big bucket, and then within that bucket you have your order products as lines. Order products are going to be transactional and they reflect delta when changes are made. And this facilitates integrations which require entries to keep entitlements in line between the two systems. You should also contract off the order, which requires the order to be activated first. There are several ways to create contracts using Salesforce CPQ and Revenue Cloud. The opportunity object is the other way that people can contract. You can generate a contract from the opportunity. But the reason that we recommend against this is because opportunity products are not supported as fully as order products within CPQ. And what we mean by that is there's a lot more flexibility that you have to make changes to order products. And you also have a lot more flexibility with customization to different page layouts that users view on the order products, as opposed to being kind of boxed in a way to using some of the standard fields that come on the opportunity products. Now, before we dive into the system, I'm just gonna say one last key point here. If there are any changes that you need to make to your order products or even the order header level, it is extremely important to make these changes while the order is in a draft status and before you actually move on into activation. So without further ado, I'm going to actually pass this off to Mike so that we can get into the system and see some Revenue Cloud objects in action, and he'll talk through what the activation process looks like within Salesforce.
Okay, so we're looking at the order record here in Salesforce in Revenue Cloud. So activating an order really isn't that hard. So I'll just go through a couple of ways you can do that. So you can see the path for the order here. So again, you can just simply click activated and then mark it as a current status, and that'll activate the order. Or you can actually just change the status itself to draft, from draft to active, and that'll activate the order. So go ahead and activate this. Watch the magic happen. And so you see it's changed now to activated. So again, You can, as Josh had talked about, I think before in the earlier slide, you can do this manually, or you can do this systematically via a flow to do that. As we just demonstrated here, it's not difficult at all to do it. But as we'll talk about here and in the next slide, the biggest decision really is, the hardest thing is to determine exactly what are your rules and when you want to go ahead and activate that order.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. So like Mike said, he just went through the steps in Salesforce from an order record, kind of the process for activating an order. Again, typically the process flow using Revenue Cloud to get to that point would be, starting from the opportunity, creating your quote with quote lines, and then creating the order from your quote. And then you would arrive with a draft order and draft order products. And then that was where Mike picked up from and showed you, here's how we activate it. There's several different ways that you can activate it. Some of the most common things that you need to keep in mind when we're talking about order activation is it's critical to keep it in draft status and activate it either manually or have a short delay, or have like a daily scheduled flow run to come through and pick up the orders that need to be activated. Because the reason that's important is you want to make sure that you capture every single change that you need to, both on the order header as well as the order products prior to activation. And we'll explain a little bit more why it's important as we go on through this next slide. But some key takeaways from seeing Mike's work in the system is activating an order isn't hard. It can be done manually, or like I just said, through automation. Activating the order at the header level then by default activates all of the child order products as well. So as soon as you activate that header, it's going to go through each order product line item and also activate them. And it will also return an activated date for those as well. The biggest decision that you need to make as a business is when you want to activate the order, if it should be manual or if it should be done on a scheduled time flow, right? Because we want to make sure that before it gets sent via integration to your other systems, or before it gets activated and then our dates are messed up, that you make sure all that information is correct prior to activation. And I have one last slide here to talk a little bit more about that stuff. Some considerations for deciding when to activate an order. In Salesforce billing, activating the order products locks down certain standard fields on the order and order products. So even if you accidentally activate the order, a lot of things will lock themselves down, not only on the header, but also on the order products. And this is important because if you do that and you activate the header order, all the order products are now active and they can't have their fields edited either. And you can't simply flip an order back to draft status and have all the order products also do that. So there's a little bit of unwinding there if you accidentally activate it and activate the order products as well. You would have to go into each order product and manually deactivate those if you don't, before you're able to actually delete the order and regenerate it, if should you need to do that. If it's unusual for the order or the order products to be updated after the order is created, if it is usual for the order or order products to be updated after the order is created, then you might want to activate the order manually, or like we said, put in a little bit longer delay for order activation. That way, if there's any users, maybe accounting or finance users that need to review certain things on the order products and the line items, they're able to do so before the order gets activated, and it creates a situation where you would have to do some rework to regenerate that order. You don't want to activate an order, like we've said, until all that data is correct, and activation should be done after the order is created, not as part of the creation process. The reason that this is important is because the relationship between the order and order products, if the order products don't have the information that they need from the quote lines, which the CPQ package handles on the back end, it basically takes a lot of the information from your quote lines and brings it forward onto your order product lines. You want to make sure that it has time between when the order gets created and when it's activated to capture all that information accurately, because a lot of the information on your order products is going to drive the creation of other related records in the system, such as when you contract, your order products are going, data on your order products is going to be what drives the subscription creation, the asset creation, and even other related records that are related to Salesforce billing, should you have that installed as well. And as we've continued to reiterate, you have a lot more flexibility to fix these issues before it's activated. I'm going to let Mike talk about some of the related billing records that get created as a part of order activation as well.
Right. So as part of order activation, a lot of times you will create the revenue schedule and its underlying revenue transactions, again, which are built off the underlying order products. And those are created as soon as activation is set and occurs. So if you have an issue where you have to change the order to order products, and those underlying structures, revenue schedules, and transactions won't be updated by any changes you make to the order products. They're created once, and then there's no like update feature in Salesforce. So that's a big deal. Activation of an order, as Josh had talked about, is key in Salesforce billing. And so there are a lot of things that happen with the order and order products in Salesforce billing once it's been activated that drive billing, that you really want to make sure that you understand when to activate that order, and you don't want to activate it until you're pretty sure that you don't have to change it. It's not a great idea, because again, once you decide you have to change information, now you have data mismatch between things like revenue schedule, revenue transactions, contracts and subscriptions, and if you have to go through and update those to align with your changes on the order post-activation, it's just more opportunity for data entry issues and data mismatches that can have impacts for things like renewals or amendments, and then invoicing within Salesforce billing going forward.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. That's all we wanted to talk about today. Thank you all for watching, and going forward, I hope that you all can make informed business decisions about activating your CPQ orders.